Cool. What's up, guys? Hopefully everything's going well. This is Dean Soto, and I am here with the lovely, illustrious, I think he just did his hair, Brett Bartlett.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Happy to have you on. I hope I can answer a lot of your questions, and I'm actually excited. I'd love to talk Amazon sponsored ads.
Love it. Love it. So let's see real quick who we have. We have John, Maria, Jay, Stuart, Bruce, Frank, Tammy, and a whole host of other people as well. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Cool. Well, quick sound check, everybody. Type first off, like Dean always says, this will be recorded. This is actually going to be used, as content later on, and so it's definitely going to be recorded. You guys will be able to replay and review it. And then I just want to make sure, type in yes if you can hear us okay on audio, and that you can see my screen actually too. But screen's going to be less important. It's not as big of a deal.
Let's see. Yep, we got a bunch of yeses.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I want to respect everybody's time and get this going right away. So this is going to be heavily driven by the questions that you guys have already posted, and then we'll see if we even have time for new questions. But I think we have plenty of content to go over based off your guys' questions. But I thought instead of diving right into the questions, I wanted to share some success stories. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to read these. These were really inspiring for me and people who have taken action on the proven performance inventory. And so just to share a couple, Audrey in here says, my husband and I have sold 3 or 4 different bundles that we've created on Amazon using the PPI system. We got our first sale in the first few days of advertising the bundles. We know this is a way to succeed on Amazon. Thank you, Brett and Dean. PPI rocks. I want to share these because it's multi-layered. I don't expect everyone to have success stories, but at the same time, I know for me, it's always good to hear success stories in case you're hitting rough patches or you're even questioning, whether you can do it or whether the system works. Hearing the success stories really drives in, okay, I can get there. And I know for me, that really is a big motivator for me. So let's see. I like this one from Ian. He says, we use PPI to make 5 or so listings, which to date are in our top 7 most profitable ASINs. Very cool. Let's see. I can't go over all these guys. It'll actually take too long, but let's see. I think, where was it? I love this one from Eddie. He said, I sold in about 10 to 14 days max all my inventory of a product I imported from China, about 150 pieces, just by creating a PPC campaign with exact search terms. No giveaways at all, sold out super fast. And so I love that side of it because, look, at the end of the day, I can't promise sales, but I do know that my team uses this process every single day, and it's a fantastic way to, find the data that you need and to generate sales. Let's do one more here, and then I do want to dive into the questions. Let's see. There was another one that I really liked. I like this one a lot. Terry says, I've used the PPI system on 5 bundles and found a few great keywords, still working on profitable bundles, and that's okay. But now I have focus. I have also used the system on an existing listing that I have and have seen a significant increase in sales of that bundle. Woohoo. I love that type of stuff. See, I love this part because it's not, oh man, I'm a millionaire now, still working on profitable bundles. There's still some work to be done, but the belief in the system's there, and it's all about those small wins to get it going. There's almost 30 of these guys, so I can't go over all of them right now, but those are just a few that Brooks is pretty cool too. Because of this course, the very first 2 products I ever listed on Amazon sold out in a few days and are continuing to sell every day. 1 product sells 1 to 5 a day. Couldn't be happier and can't wait till I have a long list of products like this. Look, for me, all I can say is when I originally started, selling 1 to 5 products a day for me would have been crazy. Like it would have been life-changing. And so I love that, Brooke posted that it's selling 1 to 5 a day. Again, very, very cool. And I love the action that you guys took. And so let's dive further into these questions that you guys posted on Facebook so that I can really give you, some valuable Q&A time right here. All right. So I'm going to pause real fast. Everybody good to move forward just before I start to go into these questions? What I want to do, I think the way I want to do this is go question by question. but I actually think a better way to do this webinar, because it's so Q&A focused, I'm going to roll through about 3 questions and then come back, then open it up for any further questions that you guys have. Does that sound like a plan, Dean, on that?
Yeah, it sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
If there's no, yeah, basically we can hop back and forth too if we need to.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far down the line in case there were some good questions, but I feel like every 3 questions we can kind of open it up for discussion in case it opened up Pandora's box on more questions. Cool. All right. So Kevin asks, a lot of us have come across maxing out search terms to 5, and when we add in new search terms to a new campaign, they show no impressions besides the original 5 search terms. Trying to pause certain terms and activating others to keep with having only 5 active at a time proved to be useless as well. When this happens, what can we do? Do we just wait it out until Amazon decides? So basically, what Kevin's saying here is, and this is very typical with Amazon sponsored ads, you'll have 3 to 5 very heavy performing search terms when you first start, and the problem is sometimes Amazon doesn't run all 20 or 30 of your search terms. What we typically do, and this is just my opinion, okay, is that less is more. And here's what I mean. For the most part, it's very rare that 20 search terms on one product are driving your sales. Typically, it's 3 to 5 search terms to do the heavy lifting for you on a given product. So, Kevin, my advice on this isn't try to continue broadening the terms. If you have a winner, right? If you have a winning search term or multiple search terms, dial that in and focus on now getting that product to market or sourcing it at a profitable price. If you can't, if it's not winning search terms, then shut those down and add 5 new ones. It's not necessarily about how to build, the 20 search terms. That's like stage 10 when you have your product being sourced at a profitable price. And so basically what I'm saying is 5 search terms is okay. You can try to add more, but my challenge to you, Kevin, would be, are you optimized for those 5 search terms? Do you have a golden nugget in there that's already working? Are you converting? Can you source this product at a profitable price? And instead of trying to widen that net, why not focus and see if you can really drill in on those 5 that Amazon is recognizing your product for? All right, so next question from Lana. What to do if winning keywords are only brand name? And this is a great question. While rating for the listing without reviews, not that great. How to expand to other non-brand names? It seems I can't find them. Thanks. This is very common and it makes sense, right? Brand names are going to draw the majority of the traffic, and that's why, because they're brand names. So my answer to this is twofold. Anybody who can't find, quote, can't find winning search terms outside of brand names, what I would love for you guys to do is some type of split test. And here's what the split test would look like. Let's use an apple slicer as an example. Let's say you have an apple slicer and then a KitchenAid knife, right? And that's your bundle. Okay, and you're gonna draw the traffic off the KitchenAid name brand. Well, in reality, that's a whole different business and product that should be treated differently. So here's my example. Do a split test. Keep your brand name going over there with KitchenAid and the knife, okay, and see how that turns out. See if you can find the golden nugget search terms, and then see if you can source the product at a profitable price later on. But then at the same time, run a different campaign of maybe an apple slicer that's not a super well-known name brand, and then a knife that is not a super well-known name brand. And don't use the brand names in any regards in your title or in your sponsored ads, and see how they cross-compare in data. Because the reality is, you can definitely, I know without a doubt, you can find winning search terms outside of the brand names, but you got to think of them almost as 2 different business models. not so much, one conjumbled one. We have our products that we use the brand names for, and then we have our products that we use just for that are just almost completely they have no brand name recognition. So understand it's better to separate those two things than conjumbling them together, Lana. Haas here writes, could you provide a successful bundle that you sold in the past? So basically he's asking for like an exact case study, which I totally don't mind doing. I can't do it live like this. I actually do it better when I record it. So I'll get you guys a recording of an exact case study that I put up and went through the process. All right, so last question, and then we'll open it up if there's any questions on these questions, is from Eric. Eric asks, if you want to sell a 5-item bundle, 4 semi-name brand items, 1 generic, would you run Keyword Inspector on all 4 semi-name branded items to find the best search terms? Would you run KI on similar best-selling? The answer is, for me, I always like to run it on the one. If you have name brand items, I would run it on the name brand items and I don't use the word generic as much, but I understand what Eric's saying. Basically, I would use it on one that is not brand recognized. So there's a ton of private label sellers on Amazon that are doing very, very well. I would find one of their products and do a reverse on that to see how Keyword Inspector gives me the data. So again, just to reiterate, he basically is asking, if you have 5 items in your bundle and 4 of them are brand names and one of them's, not a, nationally worldwide recognized brand, how would you run your Keyword Inspector reverse searches? The first thing I would do is I would run them on the name brands. And then the second thing I would do is find a product that is similar to my, quote, generic one, and do a reverse on that and not use the search terms that are brand recognized. I'd use the search terms that are based off the product itself, the functionality of the product or the definition of the product. Cool. All right, Dean, is there any questions based off those 3 questions? Because this is going to, like I said, it's going to be like drinking from a fire hose right now. So I definitely want to take it, one step at a time.
Great. Let's see. So we have Grant asking, Brett, a year or so ago, could you run as many search terms as you wanted? Amazon has changed how they do this. I wonder why they would do this when it really adds revenue to them.
For the most part, I never saw I tried originally to put 300, 400, 500 search terms up on a sponsored ad. It never worked. And that's what eventually led me to this. I mean, just in general, it just didn't work. Amazon didn't like you doing that. Originally, it never really converted well. I spent a ton of money on the ad. So I really don't mind that. It's not a problem. I think Amazon's doing the right thing because they're saying, look, it has to be really qualified. And they're trying to help us not burn through our cash. So like I said, for the most part, when you're really talking about performing products, they'll open it up for, lots of different search terms. It's great to move forward with that. But for the most part, 3 to 5, 3 to 7 search terms should be plenty for, where most of these products are at.
Very cool. James says, can you explain the difference using auto search terms as compared to manual search terms? Amazon will give you the exact search terms used by customers if you use auto search terms.
Okay, so this is just a blanket statement. This is my opinion. Okay, I've done it all. Okay, I've done auto, I've done broad, I've done phrase. Remember, we spend well over $1,000 a day on sponsored ads. Okay, so I really can't not do it right. And here's my point to this. Amazon is trying its best when it does an auto campaign, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. For the most part, on auto campaigns, it just doesn't get you there fast enough. It doesn't get you your search terms fast enough. It's just too broad. Amazon's finding so many broad. I'll give you an example. This is a perfect example. Let's say you were doing a hairbrush, right? You're doing a bamboo hairbrush, right? And let's say it's even more specific. You're doing I don't know, a pink bamboo hairbrush, and you run an auto campaign through Amazon, they're going to try to rank you for hair, for brush, for pink, and it's just money. You're honestly not going to get your data. You're just really not. It's just going to take so long to find maybe what you need. Very rarely do we find our search terms through auto campaigns. Very, very rarely. So again, I'm just speaking out of experience. I do not recommend auto campaigns, not because, of anything besides it just really doesn't give me the results that I need. And Amazon's trying, but it's really not, in my opinion, it's not what it's all cracked up to be.
Cool. At least not yet. I would imagine, maybe a year or two from now it might be better.
The unfair thing with an auto campaign is think about how, Dean, because we've seen how much of a database Keyword Inspector needs. Think about how Amazon has to rifle through your unknown product on an auto campaign. It has no idea what to run your product at. Does that make sense? Like it's very confusing for it. And so it's going to run it broad, and then it's going to run it. It's searching through millions of possible combos for your product. And in my opinion, it's better to help Amazon know what you want than say, Amazon, try to find something for my brand new product.
Totally. And even with proven products, the same algorithm that comes for with the automatic campaign will shoot you emails on products that you have saying, hey, you should run this campaign. You might be selling, say, plastic lunch boxes, and they're like, hey, you need to target this word, lunchbox. And
you're like, whoa.
I'm like, that's nice. If you can get that to me for like 1 cent a click, that'd be great.
Right,
but,
instead of $1.82.
Exactly. Cool. So great question. Eric says, if you sell 30 kinds of Colgate toothpaste and run sponsored ads for each, won't you dilute the effectiveness of your ads or actual sales?
Wait, say that one more time.
Say if you sell 30 different variations of Colgate toothpaste and you run sponsored ads for each, won't you dilute the effectiveness of your ads or actual sales?
So I'm assuming that's a loaded question, because it would, my question to the question would be, what are your variations? That's almost an impossible question to answer, because really your campaign would matter on the variation that you're putting together. So like, for example, if you did Colgate toothpaste and a travel toothbrush, Colgate toothpaste and a automatic toothbrush. I don't know the exact word for it. Colgate toothpaste and dental floss, right? You're not going to dilute in that, because what you're really doing is using Colgate and some other search terms. You're really not going to see a heavy dilution. But if you're doing Colgate toothpaste and a bigger Colgate toothpaste, and you're running those through, you would see a heavy dilution. So that's what I'm saying. It really matters on your variation and the product that you're moving into that. And it's the level of difference between the products in the variations.
Cool. It could be like, so for example, like I might have lunchbox, like maybe I'm wholesaling lunch boxes or something like that. I want to use the term lunchbox for kids, but I'm doing it for 5 different lunch boxes. Wouldn't my cost per click go up if I'm doing one for each of them? Like,
Amazon really, well, again, the question would be, what is your why behind why you're running those 5 different ones? That would be my first question. Like, why are you doing that? Are you trying to collect data for something, or do you just want to try, this is a good product and you're trying to get multiple ways? Because we do that. We have different variations for the same product. We do that all the time, just so everyone knows. For some products, we have 10 different variations of the same product, 3 different, 5 different. For the most part, if you pick ultra competitive search terms, so like if you go for the word apple slicer and you have 10 different apple slicers, that's going to get really expensive and very diluted. If you have the niche search terms, you don't really see a heavy swing in dilution or in your cost per click. But again, it really would come down to why are you doing the different variations?
Yeah, cool. That makes total sense. Love it. All right, cool. Gassan says, my question is very basic. If I'm sourcing a new private label product, how can I apply PPI concepts before I actually order the product to see if there's a market for it? Will I be testing on other products from competition?
No, go to a grocery store, go order it online, find a product that is not listed on Amazon that is extremely similar to the one you want to private label, create the listing for that product, and see if you can get the data and if you can get it to sell. If you can't do it with that product, then you wouldn't do it with the ones that you're going to private label. If you can do it with that product, you can do it with the ones that you're going to private label.
Cool. Ade says, what problems are you trying to solve for customers when you are putting a bundle together? What questions do you ask when coming up with bundle ideas?
Bundles, it's what I'm trying to do right now is not use the database of terms that I kind of have in my head. When I'm looking, okay, I'll say now what I do when I bundle, I use current search terms that I have. But that's not a fair answer because you guys might not have that. So when I was first putting the bundles together, what I would do, I actually would think of it more from the side of, okay, I want the search terms. I have Starbucks coffee in front of me right now, right? I have an iced coffee mug, and then let's say my bundle is going to be iced coffee mug, and then my Starbucks, whole bean coffee. When I look at that, my thought process behind putting a bundle together is I would like to know the search terms behind, a non super name brand iced coffee mug and the search terms that, people search for that. And then I'd also want to know the search terms that people look for when they look for their Starbucks coffee. I look at bundles more from the side of, man, I really want those search terms more than anything else. No, I don't even really think through it. I mean, slightly for the customer, but once I know the search terms, I can make my bundles better. So I actually look at bundle building more from the side of, man, those would be great search terms to get, even if I don't, see the products themselves sell. I could then make my bundles better and better and better and better. And that's what ours do over time. We see the search terms and we actually use those now to create our bundles more than anything else.
That's awesome. I love it. So we have a couple more questions, but I think why don't we jump back to Facebook?
Totally.
3 of them, and then we'll go back to the other questions.
Cool. All right, Eric, this is a good question. When selecting search terms for your ads, do you ignore Keyword Inspector's keyword rank and instead use what makes the most sense to you? Why not trust Keyword Inspector and sort by lowest ranking keyword rank or Amazon estimated monthly search volume when deciding on what terms to use? Basically what he's saying is, hey, why not just, when you run a reverse ASIN on Keyword Inspector, why not just grab the first 5 that show up on there and throw them into your sponsored ad? Look, here's the honest answer, guys. Here's the total honest answer with any piece of software that you use. They are trying to build their best algorithm, okay? And I believe Keyword Inspector is amazing. And I think it is, I mean, again, our team doesn't use any other tool besides the suite of what Keyword Inspector has now, because I really do believe in the algorithms that are built. But at the same time, some of it is, it's a lot of data points, and without Amazon opening up, its infrastructure to software developers to use their search data, it is, somewhat of a guess. And so, Eric, to answer your question, the reason I don't just grab the first 5 that show up on Keyword Inspector is I understand that Keyword Inspector is a tool, but I also understand it's doing its best to sort. It's not necessarily definitive that those are the best. I do like a human component to come over and go, oh, that kind of makes sense, and I think that's very important when you're using Keyword Inspector or any other tool. You should add the human component until, if ever, Amazon opens up its floodgates and lets software access their exact search terms and the volume behind it. So, I hope that makes sense on that one. So the reason I don't just sort and plug and play is because, I do think there is a human factor that has to go into it.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of touching on that is funny because I'll see people who they just grab the top couple of things and they're like, well, I wonder like why is it not working, or why am I paying $2 a click or whatever. All I can think of is two things. Is I used to do SEO for a long time, and if I were to go to Google Keyword Planner and say, hey, I just entered in this keyword and Google says I can, the very top thing is going to give me 60,000 views a month, and if I use that, then that'd be pretty retarded because everyone else can do that.
Right.
And it's not really what Google's there for. You have to have some kind of human interaction and understanding of, I really think this is going to have good competition or bad competition or whatever. And then on top of that, you think of Amazon themselves, who they've spent millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into their sponsored ad campaign. And when you get these emails where it says, hey, you should use this term. The term is shoes for the shoes that you're selling. Here's millions of dollars of research, and the top rank word that they want you to go for.
Totally.
You can only imagine how hard it is to actually do that tool-wise, where it's relatively easy once you just kind of use a little common sense. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's what we humans are good at is being
right.
able to infer stuff. Using that little bit of common sense and inference and stuff, it makes the tool really, really, really good. So,
yep, I totally agree. All right, so James asks, how long would you suggest running an ad on a bundle after getting 4 sales within 7 days, 3 from the ad and 1 organic? My answer to this is you should never turn off your sponsored ad, in my opinion. There's no benefit of it unless you're losing money. If you're even breaking even, and I should actually take one step back from this. So when you're sourcing a product, there's products that you can continuously source, right? And then there's products that like you can only get 5 of and then it's done. If you can continually source it, there is no reason to ever shut off your sponsored ad if you're breaking even. Or even if you're on a lot of mine, I even lose money because I know that it's causing me to build up conversions. It's causing Amazon to understand my product more. Amazon loves to understand your product, okay? The more opportunity you give Amazon to understand your product, the more it'll create its web. The less opportunities you give Amazon to understand your product, the less it's going to show it to its customers. Okay, does that make sense? Amazon's customers are its most prized possession. So if you are not giving Amazon data so that it feels confident to show your product to customers, it's going to do the reverse and bury your product. So if I can continually source a product, I very rarely turn off the sponsored ads, as long as I'm not taking an absolute beating on my cost of my ad. But for the most part, I let them run because it really builds up a great organic component of it over time. So I really haven't seen a benefit to shutting it off. If it's a product that you can only get 10 of and you've gotten the data and you're like, look, I really don't want to continue spending the money, and then you're going to move on and use the data that you have, you can kind of shut it off whenever you feel comfortable. But those are two different scenarios: when you can continually source a product, and then when the product has run its course and you knew you'd only have 5 of those. There really isn't a point, if you're not making money, to continually run those that data and those ads. Haas says, I have run my ad bundles for a week. I get high impressions, heavy competition, and no sales. Should I change my bundle or change search terms? That's a question, Haas, that you have to look at your data and understand. But just based off of what you said, I get high impressions and heavy competition and no sales. Should I change my bundle? You really only have 2 options to that point: change your bundle or find more niche search terms. But the great thing is you found that out now, as opposed to ordering 5,000 or 1,000 or 500 of something on Alibaba, right? Or wherever or a wholesaler, whatever. You now know that unless you find some niche search terms, that might not have been a product to go into it. I know everybody wants sales, but sometimes finding out that something is brutal competition prior to spending money is just as valuable to basically not losing money is sometimes as valuable as making money. So Haas, that's what I would do. I would either find niche search terms. If you can't find more niche search terms and get some traffic off that, I would try a different bundle. And then, now you know that that's a competitive product that you were going to go for. Dino, let's go ahead and open it up to the next round of questions.
Very cool. I love it, man. All right, cool. All right, so Bruno says, I'm an Amazon newbie seller and it's not allowing me to run sponsored ads. What do I do?
Well, there's a couple different answers to that all the time. Number one is make sure you have the buy box. Number two, make sure if you sent the item in FBA, it should be eligible in the buy box. If not, lower your price. And then after that, check your category that you put it in. Sometimes it's category related.
Cool. Judy has a good question or a good comment. She says, Brett, I've had 3 clicks since we last talked 35 minutes ago.
Yeah, Judy actually, that's a good point. I should bring up her as a case study. I got to talk to her right before this webinar, and this actually ties into multiple questions that come up all the time. And here's the multiple questions. Basically, like if Amazon's suggesting something, or if they're doing an auto, or if they're going to do a broad search, why not just let Amazon take the wheel, right? And it's not that I disagree with it at its core. It's that literally it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And when I was talking to Judy, she was using the estimated page 1 bids for what she was going to bid on her product, which makes sense. It's Amazon telling you, on average, this costs 18 cents, 15 cents, 45 cents, 85 cents. And you're going, it's Amazon. They got to know what this typically costs, right? Unfortunately not, guys. Unfortunately not. A lot of times it's very inaccurate. I have seen actually it be majority inaccurate what it's telling you on the estimated page 1 bids. But my point to that is a broader point. The auto component of Amazon sponsored ads is not dialed in yet. Okay, it really isn't. They just have to. It's so many data points. It is so many data points that it's quicker, faster, leaner and meaner for you guys to come in and follow the PPI process, cut through the fat, and just dial things in, super quick. So my point to that, it just strengthens that Amazon is trying its best to give you as much relevant information. But if you follow PPI, it's kind of like the ninja knife going through it. So I really do believe in the system because we use it and we've tried all those other things, and it just really doesn't push the stuff forward.
Love it. Cool. Tomoko says, I'm trying to create a listing. Seller Central won't accept my UPC code. Amazon says it's because there's a conflict with the brand name of my bundle, 3 items from the same brand. Is there a workaround, or do I just slap my brand on it and move on?
I've actually never heard that problem before. I'd call a couple different reps and get definitive answers on that. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's one thing, guys, is and I don't mean to sound like I don't know. Call different reps. If you have a rep that doesn't answer the way you like, call them back and get a different rep, especially when it comes to sponsored ads. I don't know about you, Brett, but man, oh man, a lot of them don't know what they're doing. And so you'll get different answers from different people. So definitely call back. Tammy says, my question is related to the break. It exists between finding the right search terms, having great data, and running out of product. Brett says we shouldn't buy even 20. So how do you deal with the gap of how do you deal with the gap of time to not to lose traction or position with Amazon search engine when using FBA?
It's funny, and guys, I'm talking, this is a multi-million-dollar product. Okay. here's the part where it's correct. It's never good. It's never great to have a gap between in Amazon's algorithm of something selling and then not being available anymore. Amazon really doesn't like that, for sure. But as far as like its impact on your overall business, if it happens, it's not that crazy. We had a product that I always call, we fell forward on it. We just randomly bought it, tested it, and we're like, holy crap, this thing is a gold mine. And we sold out of what we had. And then it took us almost 8 months to source it and get a good price on it. And so in that 8 months, we sold nothing, literally zero. But we knew the search terms. We had already collected all of them. So after those 8 months, we actually got the product landed, got it there. And this Christmas, I think it did over gross sales. It did over like 750,000 from October to December. My point in that is once you know the search terms, Amazon can pick it up much quicker, but it's always better to have it continuously run if possible. So now we really try not to ever have that product run out.
Love it. Cool. All right. Let's do one more and then we'll go head back to the Facebook questions. Okay. Eli says, I sell an item that the core search terms around 5 are very low trafficked, and I get so many sales from the old-fashioned broad shoot all directions from the past. I don't really get how I would have gotten to these with exact 5 to 7 search terms in ad set that we learned about.
Okay, so I'm sure, and who was this that wrote this?
Eli. All right, Eli, I'm sure you know this, but just in case everybody else doesn't, everybody understands that broad is really just a lot of exact matches, okay? So if you actually went and downloaded your search term report on the back end of your campaigns, and because you're running broad, it'll give you a list of all the different search terms that Amazon ran in your broad campaign, and it'll show you which ones actually converted for sales in your broad campaign. So my question is, if you have those exact search terms after you run your broad, because it's not converting for everything, right? Even in your broad, you're collecting data. If you have all those search terms, why not add those exact search terms into your campaign, get those running, because you already know that they convert, right? Because for the most part, even though Amazon's spreading it super wide, the majority of the search terms do not convert in a broad campaign. It's a few and far between of some sort of exact match that will convert for your product. So my challenge to Eli would be, why not, if you want to run your broad for a little bit, why not let it run for a little bit, download your search term report, and then extract the exact search terms out of it and run them as an exact, save money. And really at the end of the day, guys, the big thing, I can tell you this over and over and over again, Amazon wants you to convert. Okay, they really want you to convert. So it actually does your listing a disservice if you're sending it a ton of traffic and it's not converting. Love it, love it, love it. All right, cool. Why don't we head back to Facebook?
Cool. All right, Eddie just gave us like tons of questions, so I'm going to kind of rapid fire through them. What are the minimum ranges of impressions and clicks you look to have for a keyword when evaluating its performance on a campaign? I don't have a minimum and maximum necessarily, but I do like to see that it's getting, some clicks per day. So my definition of some clicks would be, I do like for it to get, between 3 and 9 clicks a day. As far as impressions go, I don't have a minimum maximum with impressions, because you can have something that's giving you 100,000 impressions but 3 clicks. That's not that valuable. Something that gives me 50 impressions, 20 clicks, and 10 sales, that's very valuable. So I really like, I really use clicks as a bigger basis, but impressions help show whether traffic comes from that search term. So impressions, I don't really have a minimum. Clicks, I do kind of have a minimum if I'm going to move forward. Eventually, it's about 3 to 9. I like to see that. Next question. Some Amazon marketers recommend a process of keyword discovery that goes like this: auto campaigns, manual broad match, manual exact match. Again, I have no problem with that. It's just like, man, that's going to take me a lot more time. And so I'm just not a huge believer in that process, not because you can't extract stuff out of it, but it's just, it takes a while. And again, it's too wide of a net in my opinion. But I don't agree with it. I like to go with the exact matches. I like to decipher it right away on it. And sometimes the auto campaigns can really suck up a budget very quickly. Because you got to think, even if you start to use negative keywords, everything like that, it's just very comprehensive. And he says, as PPI is based on exact match from a reverse lookup on a single ASIN and keyword inspector, what are your thoughts on using broad match campaigns in order to discover more keywords to target? I think that's fine. I think using broad match later on, after you have a base, after you've kind of, let's say you have 5, 10, 15, 20 different search terms running, and you're like, man, I really need to try to find more search terms. Like I can't find anymore. That's when I actually think you run broad match. That's what we do, to say like, all right, Amazon, can you find anything that we haven't found? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. I don't use it on the front end. I use it on the back end of our process. These are great questions, though. That's why I liked them. How do you train your team to identify when they are interpreting PPC data incorrectly? The training process of my team has taken years, but for the most part, you know, it really is helping them understand the why behind everything. You know, why is it okay for this CPC to be a little bit higher? Why is it okay for us to accept 12 clicks on this search term as opposed to 100 or 3? It's talking about the why with your team over and over and over and over and over again, because it is, to Dean's point, some of this process is inferring, and so you do need to go over the why with your team over and over again. How often do you update a listing with new keywords in order to optimize it when a seller has hundreds of items being available? To have a process of continuous listing optimization can be difficult. So basically, how often do you update your listings? I have seen now it is quicker to find or to use your sponsored ads, you know, better sponsored ads to convert. Once you get conversion, you will then, your listing will most likely start to rank for that organically. We are doing less and less of you know, continually trying to quote optimize or fix the product. It's actually better to try to get to convert on your sponsored ad, because Amazon loves it. They go, okay, I get it. You ran an exact match for, you know, pink bamboo hairbrush. You got 2 sales from that. We understand you are a pink bamboo hairbrush. Let's keep moving you forward on the pages. So converting on sponsored ads is much more important. Do you repeat keywords in your listing page or on the back end? I kind of go over that in the course. You can repeat or not repeat. Conflicting data on it, and you know, Amazon says don't repeat. So, you know, depending on the day you talk to me, I'll say repeat or not repeat. Do you use singular form of words or also plurals, as Amazon search works based on broad search? Is there any reason in your mind that using plurals may be worthwhile? I like to play, I do, on exact matches, I like to play around with plurals. So I think it's worth playing around with, and if you don't get the data on it, that's fine, you can let it go.
Just on that alone, I've had so many instances where adding the S changes everything.
Right.
Even though Amazon says no, that it doesn't make a difference, doesn't, you know, our algorithm does whatever to make sure that you know, you're going to get, even though you're doing like tamale wraps or tamale wrap, you're still going to get tamale wraps. It's not the case. I'll add an
not
S.
always. Yeah.
I'll add an S, and my competition goes from high competition to extremely low competition with the super low cost per click, just from the plural, at least for now.
Yeah, at least for now, exactly. So all we're doing is giving you our real life you know, situation of it, and so it's always subject to change, but for now I would agree with that. It's like, put it in there as a plural and as singular and see what it does. If it doesn't run it for plural, then, or if it just runs it for the, you know, plural or singular, just let it be. And if it runs it for both, awesome. So that's how I would approach that. what's your copywriting style? We are terrible copywriters. For the most part, we totally suck, to be honest. We are just very good at our search terms. And so really at the end of the day, honestly, I think it's an 80-20 rule. 80% of this is based off of finding the right search terms and matching it with a product. I'd say the 20% is getting really good at copywriting. Copywriting helps for sure. But 80% of the work is finding the search terms. What are examples of bundles that didn't work for you, and what did you learn from the failures? Examples of bundles: heavy competition that don't work. When you are in the bloodbath of Apple Slicer and you're like, wait, how come I'm not selling my Apple Slicer? It's $14.99 and I'm ranking for Apple, or I'm running the word Apple Slicer, and then all of a sudden there's 300 other people selling you the same Apple Slicer, but they're all selling it for $11.99 to $14. That it is all about, if you go into too heavy of a competition, those are the ones that I failed on in our bundles. And those are the ones once I see super heavy competition, if I can't find another search term to go into that, I kick out. I'm out of it. It's not worth it. Do you take photos in-house? We do take photos in-house. But you can outsource it too and be a big deal. Any hacks you found in the way you create listings that have made a positive difference? Not really, no hacks. I don't have any of those ninja tricks. It's really just based off sponsored ads. Do you have a formal process for idea generation of new bundles other than what PPI course shows? I mean, sometimes our product managers, the answer is no. The closest thing we have to it is Kippert, which if you guys haven't familiarized yourself with it, you should on Keyword Inspector. That's probably the most formal process we have for idea generation. Do you list your products in only one search node, or do you ask Amazon catalog team to add your listings to a second search node? Search nodes are, look guys, again, this is almost like an 80-20 rule, okay? It's a great question, but there becomes a point where it's getting lost in the weeds. Your search nodes matter for sure. And what that's talking about is the subcategory. I call it the subcategory of the subcategory of the subcategory. But if you perseverate too much on this type of stuff, you actually miss the big golden nugget that's hanging right in front of you. Okay, so the answer is we mess around with our search nodes, or the category that our Amazon's in or that our product's in, only if our sponsored ads aren't running correctly. If our Amazon sponsored ads are running correctly, we really don't spend a ton of time on it. What are the rules structure of your team? You've mentioned product managers. Are they focused on specific categories? Do you have compensation incentives? Product managers are focused on specific products, not necessarily categories. Do you have compensation incentives? Yes, we do. Basically, some of these guys get bonuses depending on the performance of certain products. How do you prevent compete situations where you train someone? That really comes down to trust. So basically, how do you keep them from competing against you? You build a trust factor, and you build a situation that they wouldn't want to leave. Non-competes are definitely worthwhile if it makes you guys feel better and it does, let them know that this is valuable information. We don't develop a ton of new product partnerships, which is the next question. And do you prep your bundles in-house? Yes, we do. All right, cool. Dean, I hope those were a lot of questions that I rolled through on that one. We can open it up to some more discussion.
Okay, cool. Okay, where should we go? Let's see. So, how would you use chaos? Okay, trying to get back to where we were. What do you do if you have a great keyword search term but are unable to source the product for a profitable price? Do you disregard it and move on?
Man, I would really challenge someone who, so I think that could be true if your profit is coming from a brand name search term. I understand it's going to be, let's say you're like, man, I understand I can really rank for KitchenAid, right? And KitchenAid is what's drawing all your traffic and getting your conversions, but you really can't, find, man, you know what? Here's my challenge. I will tell you this, for the most part, I'd say in the 90 percentile, there are ways to source your product at an affordable price. Because here's my theory, okay? people are selling it on Amazon already, a similar product. How are they able to source it at an affordable price, but you're not, right? So even if you're like, but Brett, I'm basing it off of a brand name. Well, you could do your brand name product and then find a product that has the margin built into it to bundle it together. So the answer is, if you truly can't source the product at a profitable price, then it's a tough road. Grab your search terms, try to apply it to a new product. But I would definitely challenge people on the ability to find the product, at a profitable price. It takes digging. It takes a long time. It's not easy, for sure. Look, like I said, our multi-million-dollar product took us over 8 months to source. 8 months, okay? But if I would have just said, no, I can't, get it at a profitable price, we would have literally lost out on millions of dollars. So I would challenge you to really dig in if you're serious about this and try to find that product at a profitable price. You'd be really surprised once you find where other people are. And the next checkpoint that I always have on that is I go over to eBay, and if people are selling it on eBay, okay, at around the same price or cheaper, that tells me that they're able to source it at a better price.
Awesome. Another good question here. I talked to a sponsored ad rep who said that manual keywords in your ads will only show if the words are in the visible page content on your ASIN. Has this been your experience?
Yeah, the answer is yes. My experience is it's easier to have your product show when it's on, specifically is when it's in your title. So your search term will run, if it's in your title. But it's not 100% true, because I know that we run tons of different search terms that are not on our front page. So the answer is it's easier if it's on your front page. It is not a black and white rule that I've seen in my experience.
Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of things that I have that are not in my listing at all, and sometimes they'll show up and sometimes they won't.
Right.
It depends. It totally depends. Cool. Once you place a sponsored ad and it generates sales, how long do you have to wait before the sales show up in the campaign manager?
I don't even review my sales. Honestly, I don't review any of that stuff until the following week, because Amazon's just so delayed on their sponsored ad data. Sometimes we'll get it within 24 hours. Sometimes it'll be 48 hours. But for the most part, I don't even review my sponsored ad data until it's the previous week.
Yeah, same here. I've had that happen a couple of times where it's 48 hours. I'm like, okay, cool, it showed up, and then the next one was like a week, and I'm like, and yeah. So next is, if I want to test more search terms faster, do you recommend building many 5 to 7 terms per group?
Say that one more time.
If I want to test more search terms faster, do you recommend building many 5 to 7 terms per group? Like different ad groups with 5 to 7 terms?
I don't think faster is better in this model, to be honest. So I would just be careful of anything where you're trying to maybe move too fast. We don't do that. We don't do anything like that. It's really, we like less is more in this model. So again, that's just my opinion. I don't like to do things where I can't really analyze the data, that we're putting out. So my recommendation would not do that. But I do understand how that would make it go faster. I just don't, I'm not a big fan of that process. Dean, you there? Are you muted?
Darn you, I'm muted. All right. Ade says, how would you use the keyword inspector simple search? I want to sell products in the UK, and that is the only option available in keyword inspector.
Oh, simple search is just as good. Basically, you just have to use more human inferring. That's it. You just use the reverse ASIN. It'll give you those search terms and kind of look it over. And you guys have to understand it's take small bites. So choose 3 to 5 search terms that you think as a human makes sense, and then try them out. They work or they don't work, and iterate from there. So simple search will work just fine.
Yeah, and I don't, basically simple search I don't know, when it first started, when Keyword Inspector, when we first started using it, I mean, extensive search was pretty much like the simple search, except you got some fancy graphs and things like that. And,
Yeah.
and even with the graphs, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't help too much.
Right.
Hopefully James didn't hear me say that, but
no, it's just more human inferring. That's it's just you just have to. It's just there's more of a human component.
Yeah. Grant says, I'm trying to develop PL products and a brand. What approach would you use to get your product started?
Find those search terms, man. Really, honestly, at the end of the day, it always comes down to you have to enter the market in some way. And a big mistake everyone makes is, but my apple slicer is the best. It's silver, right? And it's like, no, that means nothing to the customer. And you have to know that you have to know the search terms that you actually stand a chance at, and you have to start converting on those, whether that means 2 sales a day, 1 sale a day, 10 sales a day. If you want to bring a PL product to market, you have to have search terms that you can convert on. That's how I would bring it to market.
Very
Proven
cool.
search terms that you can convert on.
Very cool. Last one, then we can go back to the Facebook. And Nancy says, very basic question. Having trouble coming up with bundle ideas. I've gone through the material, but I'm still struggling.
It is a broader question. You know what? Here's the best way to do it. Use the frequently bought with, or customers who bought also bought, and just use that on Amazon. So if you find a product, just scroll through frequently bought together, and then customers who bought this also bought. That'll build your bundles, relatively quickly, and it's a nice little hack to be able to, systemize it a little bit more.
Love it. All right, cool. Let's head back over to Facebook.
Cool. All right. So next question is from Tammy. My biggest question is, once you know that your bundle is a success, what do you do so the listing does not go stale? It seems to me that you need time to research wholesale pricing. So this is kind of the same thing. Do you start from scratch yet again? Like I said before, it isn't a great thing to have your listing stop, but it's not the end of the world. You once you have all the pieces to the puzzle, it's not super complicated to get it going again. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I'm talking multi-million-dollar product that we did that with 8 months in a gap. Let's see. What is the most efficient way to start finding products? Again, my opinion, we use Kippert, but there are other ways. You can ask family and friends. You can search Amazon's frequently bought with, but I really like Kippert, and I think it's a fast way to be able to get products through less human subjective thought. Bob J, I think it would be really important to explain the system that Amazon runs and why what we are doing is avoiding the bumps and working out Amazon's algorithm. I mean, the whole course is amazing, but I feel that I need more explanation on how Amazon's algorithm works. Okay, so Bob, first answer. If let's say there's like a PhD in Amazon's algorithm, and then there's like a preschooler who barely can put a crayon to paper, and I think most gurus should admit this, but for the most part, we really don't know Amazon's algorithm. Okay, we've all kind of heard things, and we've talked to people, and we've done our research, but for the most part, Amazon keeps its algorithm locked up in a very, very, very tight box. But you can use human common sense and really the best people to listen to when it comes to Amazon algorithms. You want to know the very best? The people who are selling millions of dollars of product. Do you know why? Because the best way to understand Amazon is from the people who are using it. Because there's really not a ton of information Amazon puts out. And even sometimes when they put it out, it's not 100% clear, it's vague, and even sometimes it's incorrect. Okay. And so here's my quick Reader's Digest version of why PPI works on Amazon's algorithm. Amazon had a ton of people trying to manipulate their organic search component on Amazon, meaning they would run heavy promotions, they'd give products away, they'd have big blasts of sales in order to trick Amazon into thinking that their product should rank super, super high. Well, Amazon slowly took that away in different components and then put a heavy weight on their sponsored ad program. And in their sponsored ad program, what they're saying is, look, these people are willing to pay for these search terms. They are specifically telling us, you know, what search terms they think customers will want for their products. So we're going to give it a shot. And then when customers buy off that exact search term that you're telling Amazon to run, Amazon gives it way more points than other pieces of its algorithm. So the hack, the reason that we're avoiding the bumps and bruises of Amazon's algorithm is because we're using sponsored ads to get traffic, understand traffic, and then hopefully convert on the traffic. It scores way better on Amazon's algorithm. But my disclaimer is, in no way, shape, or form did I write Amazon's algorithm or sit down with the person who did. I've really just read up on it, and Slash, really where I've learned the most. It's very street smarts, and it's based off of my experience. Last question. Oh, that's not a question. It's a point. So anyways, that kind of sums up the majority of the Facebook questions, which I think is perfect timing. And we can open it up to some broader questions for the people who are live on the webinar, and then tie it in a nice little bow.
Sweet. Cool. Terry says, oh, and this is actually a comment, but it goes along with the Seller Central thing. Because it's funny, I actually was talking to some people, and some of their ads were not getting any impressions whatsoever for their search terms. And I said, call Amazon, and they said, but they did call Amazon, and rep said, oh, well, just because you're using exact, and you shouldn't use exact. And and so I'm like, yeah, call the reps back, because that rep was an idiot.
Right.
Terry says, I've been having the same problem. Amazon Seller Central has been working on it for weeks. I've talked to several reps. They told me that it was a glitch and are waiting to hear from tech support. So if you don't see impressions on your stuff, and you know that you should be seeing those impressions, don't hesitate to call, and keep on calling and calling and calling, because it could be a glitch or a bug or something like that. This is all new, right, guys. They're still, this is brand new stuff for Amazon. All right. So yeah. Oh, so Eli Eli had the question about the exact. He talked about the exact search terms, and he wasn't sure how you could get those exact search terms, because he's using all these broad ones, and they're making a lot of money for him. He actually says, you know, he does the broad and gets all the exact search terms and stuff like that. But how can you just right from the beginning just get exact search terms without doing getting broad?
Well, you know, that's taking advantage of Keyword Inspector.
Cool.
Sorry, Dean, I was getting an echo. That's kind of why I paused.
Okay.
But basically what I'm saying is that when you're running a broad, it is doing some of the work for you, but through the PPI process, what you're doing, if you follow the exact process, it gets you to those exact match search terms much quicker. And again, really the best tool in my opinion is running a reverse ASIN from Keyword Inspector, using some human inferring and going, okay, here's 5 that make complete sense that I wouldn't have thought of. I'm going to throw those up, as opposed to a broad match that could take weeks, you know, days or whatever, and maybe never even find that other search term that Keyword Inspector found and gave you a list of. So it's just, in my opinion, a quicker hack.
Cool. Very cool. All right. James says, I think someone might have asked this already, but my first bundle was selling well. Then I sold out. It took me almost 2 weeks to restock, and I lost traction on a listing. How do you maintain traction on a listing after you run out of stock?
That's really interesting. The answer to it is always look at all the variables. So I get that question a lot. And my next question is typically the same. You guys probably haven't seen it in the Facebook group. Has anyone come in and challenged you on your price? You know, meaning, let's say you were selling a bundle for $14.99 and you know, it was an open ocean, but maybe now someone's selling a bundle for a similar bundle or a similar item for $14.99. So a lot of the times things that I look at, it typically goes in this order. Price. Is there someone else competing on price? Next, I look, am I now getting outbid for any of the search terms that were really valuable to me. So I actually look at my campaigns to see if I'm getting outbid. If those two things check out, then really, you got to go a little bit broader. Was it a seasonal item? Was there a rush for any reason? But for the most part, I'd say 80% of it comes down to, is your price still competitive? Is there more competition? And specifically, when you go onto Amazon.com and type in the exact search term that you're looking for, does someone else populate on that first page on the sponsored ad? Because if that's the case, that's your reason.
Very cool. Love it. All right. Ade says, I'm bidding for a keyword and notice that a competing product is first place on the right-hand side ads. First at the bottom of the ads, then again, first on the right-hand side of the second page. How do they do this?
They're just outbidding you. That's all it is.
Cool. That was easy. Eric said, would you run a broad match ad concurrently with an exact match ad?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with running broad match. I think that's fine. That's totally fine.
Cool. I think one of the things that it was actually for me too was kind of hard to grasp, but was, you might not get as much traffic with an exact ad, but you might get more conversions. I actually just I was showing some folks the other day that or actually yesterday that I had something that had I put up. It took about a day. Yeah, it took about 24 hours, and I had 18 impressions, 1 click, and 1 sale because it was super targeted.
Right.
18 impressions isn't anything to boast about and be like, wow, that's awesome. But it converted really well, and it was an exact match. And the cool thing was it was a 2-cent, and I'll show you. I have pictures, Brett, to prove it. It was a 2-cent click. So
yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, $209 for 2 cents.
Look, yeah, there's different pieces you guys got to understand. It's never what I'm trying to do is give you the most bang for your buck. If you guys want to run a broad and exact and do this faster, just make sure you have the budget for it, because otherwise you're going to exceed your budget. Like when I hear of running a broad and an exact at the same time, I just think, all right, well, what's your budget per day? Is it 10, 20, 30, 40, $50? Because you're gonna suck up your daily budget most likely. And then what happens is Amazon says, well, you hit your $20 budget for the day, or 10 or 5 or 2, and you used up your budget because you turned on Amazon broad match and it started getting you clicks for the word hair, which is $2.25, per click. And you never even gave your exact one a chance to run because the broad sucked up your daily budget. So again, I'm just answering this stuff more like I don't think more is more in this model. I think less is more. You need to isolate your data so that you understand what's causing what. Because if you start to mix it all together, you're never going to know what's working or what could have potentially worked.
Cool. Daryl says, I'm in the skincare niche. Customers won't buy a new product unless it has 50+ reviews. For your products, do you see sales results without reviews? Also, are you doing anything to promote reviews?
Look, this is why the PPI system was created. Okay. And of course, reviews are awesome, and especially in a niche like that. But here's my challenge. That is a competition-based problem. My goal with PPI is not to send you into the bloodbath ones. I'm in some bloodbath categories, and I can tell you it is some of the most painful ones because it was pre us really dialing in this PPI system. And so, we spend a ton of money just trying to get those products to sell. So I unfortunately don't have a recommendation besides the fact of maybe trying to find some more niche search terms that are off the beaten path. That's the only way we've done it. And, definitely use the PPI system in the future to understand that, going into, even though it has heavy traffic, right? Everyone wants the heavy traffic. I'm going to make $1 million. There's a lot of competition that comes along with that sometimes. So it is a tough one there is no quick workaround when you're in a heavily competitive market.
Love it. Next is Tammy says, what are the average amount of clicks per keyword or sales, and on how many keywords you look before you decide it's good data to get large orders for your products?
It varies so wide that there is no there. Here's the way I should say this, guys. There is no cookie cutter formula for this, because on certain products, I'm okay with 1 sale a day. I'm totally fine with it. I don't have a problem with that. On other products, I need 15 to 20 sales a day. And so it actually derives more from how many products you bought or have to buy, maybe to get a price break. And so, if you have to buy 500 products, or let's say you have to buy 300 of an item to get a price break, right, from maybe a wholesaler, you wouldn't want to use a cookie cutter formula that says, well, you got to get 10 sales a day, right? You would never buy that product, but why not? If you're going to get 1 sale a day, that's 365 sales a year, and $10 maybe profit per product. That's $3,650 of profit a year. Why not go for that product? So that is my long-winded answer for saying the cookie cutter formula doesn't exist. It's actually driven by, let's say you had to order 2,000 of a product to get a significant price break, and you only are going to sell 300 in a year. Well, then that would tell you do need more average sales per day, and maybe that's not the right product and you can't source it at that price, or maybe take less margin on ordering 300 because at this moment you're only going to sell 300 a day. So there is no cookie cutter formula. It's actually driven typically by the price breaks you can get from possible suppliers.
Very cool. Adrian says, in regards to keywords, what about capitals? Do capitals matter?
No, I've never seen capitals make any type of difference.
Yeah, me neither. So this is so Arena says, all my plurals don't give impressions, and I actually asked, are the plurals in your listing, and she says yes, but only singulars give impressions.
That's fine, and that totally makes sense. We've seen that too. So it's good to put it out there, and if Amazon says no, you're good, we'll take care of it with a singular. You're all good. Don't worry about it. It's all that part of it's totally fine. You did your test, and Amazon answered it. You asked your question, Amazon answered it, so you're good to move forward.
Cool. Derek says, do you sell in multiple channels?
We sell multiple channels.
Cool. Eric says, do you find search terms with volumes less than 200 per month effective?
Totally.
Cool. Tony says, if I missed this, just say so. Do you download and review the search term report for your ads?
Yes.
Cool. When dealing with health and groceries, what are your thoughts on running a campaign with local products, and once we get good data, sourcing from international sources, assuming the same quality?
Love it. I think it's great.
Very cool. Ade says, you say you collect data, or you must collect data. What do you do to store it? Like, how do you store it, the data?
It's just on different, Excel files, spreadsheets.
Yeah. Eddie says, how would you know from the reports that you are getting outbid, or can you tell when you search the term on Amazon?
The answer is both. You could actually download, I don't have it in front of me right now, I'm drawing a blank, but you could do there's a report that gives you, that tells you what you're getting outbid on. I think it's the estimated one. There's a report that says estimated page 1 bid.
Very cool. Daryl says thanks. Then Adrian says, should I run an ad for a 1-pack, a 2-pack, a 3-pack at the same time with different campaigns, of course?
There's not really a benefit to a multi-pack and having multiple campaigns. Any search term you were going to run, you could have run it on just one of those.
Sweet. We've reached the end of questions. You guys, unless they're going super slow. Jeremy did ask if there's going to be a replay, and yes, there is going to be a replay.
Cool. Well, that's awesome, guys. That was a lot of content. I hope you guys re-listen to this a couple times, just because that did have, I would say the bulk of questions that get asked during on the PPI Facebook group. We did cover them, and re-listen to this and re-listen to it. But I can tell you this right now: the best thing you can do is take action on it, and then ask yourself, why would this not be working, right? Like, even when I got to talk to Judy today, for the most part, here's the great thing and the hard thing about Amazon sponsored ads. Is the great thing, Dean, you can attest to this, the opportunity that they give you to run a sponsored ad with such a qualified customer at such a relatively low CPC, cost per click, is kind of unreal. It's kind of like the early days of Google when you hear people talk about the glory days. So that's the awesome part, okay? The difficult part is there's a lot of different moving pieces that Amazon's still figuring out and that we're still figuring out. So it could be one slight little tweak that is causing your entire process to be clogged, and all you have to do is do that one slight little tweak, and all of a sudden, boom, floodgates open. So I just really encourage you guys to keep tweaking, and I think then you're going to see your results at the end of the day.
Love it. Let's see. Just a couple more questions. Will there be another webinar for some of us who are just starting and may have other questions?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to try to continue to give you guys great, feedback on this process, because it's always changing. Who knows? I'm always going to be trying to give you guys the most updated of this process.
Love it. Jeremy says, Brett, the get-together in Laguna Beach.
I am actually at my new house now. I will give you guys more details later, but we do need to stop living in boxes first.
Cool. And then actually, good question. Derek says, is Kippert really that helpful in product selection?
Look, if you guys want, I will say this. The human component is obviously very strong. Again, we talked about in the beginning. Inferring is very difficult for any piece of software to ever do, especially with a bajillion different data points like Amazon has. If you guys want a sourcing tool that I think, again, I'm just recommending what my team uses. We use Kippert. I think it's the best one out there. It's what I'm referring everyone to. I think it's awesome. But other than that, it's kind of like it's very subjective on, what works the best. I like it because it gives me tons of different data points very quickly on different products. And so my team can source very, very quickly, but you still need a human component. No matter what, at the end of the day, at this juncture, you still need human components of inferring about whether a product would be good or not.
Very cool. Tammy says, thank you, Brett. This was awesome. Looking forward to the reply, as it was a lot of the replay, as it was a lot of information. And then Eli says, what is the best way to get feedback from your staff?
From my staff?
I would just say the Proven Performance Inventory Facebook group.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of people are becoming the experts on there. Definitely, that's the place to post your questions.
Cool. And then I think it's Hal. It might be Hi. Last question, guys. What price ranges are your bundles? 15 to 45? Question mark.
The best. It is driven by your product category and your product, obviously, but I will give you kind of like a broader answer. The highest volume selling products sell between $15 and $35. Actually, it's closer to $15 to $25. But we have some big hitter products that sell from $99 to $200. So, but those are few and far between. So the sweet spot, definitely $15 to $25. But again, that's not a cookie cutter formula. You can find things that sell for $65, $75, $12. It's really just driven by the data. You would see it. You're going to see those things when, all the competitors are selling at 99. When you sell it at 83 or 93, you're going to get the volume. So it's actually, the answer to that is it's always driven by your competitor's price of a similar product. And you might say, well, but mine's better. That doesn't matter. Honestly, it really doesn't. What matters is the way the customer is going to use their shopping process to go, all right, this is an apple slicer. That apple slicer is $9.99. This apple slicer is $11.99. This apple slicer is $15.99. Which one do you think it's going to click on first? They're going to click on the lowest price one and see if it makes the most sense to purchase.
Oh, yeah, especially if all the reviews are the same, or if everything is the same. Why would I buy why would I even buy the $15 apple slicer compared to the $14 apple slicer? It can be $1 difference. I'm going $14.
Yep.
So, all right, cool, guys. Well, hope you guys like this. If you have any questions, go to the to Jim's Proven Performance Inventory Facebook group. We're always lurking around there, and we'll be there to help out in any way we can. All right. So,
cool.
All right. Have any last words before you take off?
Guys, start to get street smart. The best way to learn this process, honestly, I feel like I'm like the guy that really didn't read a ton up on this. I just started doing it, and I'm like, oh, this guru is saying to do it this way, but I do it every day, and that's really not the best way to do it. So definitely doing the process helps a lot more than tons and tons of overwhelming info. So play with it, tweak with it, and then all of a sudden you'll be super comfortable with it, and you'll realize Amazon's doing its best to give you relevant information, but sometimes knowing the little tweaks and hacks and Jimmy this, it actually pays dividends. So definitely taking action and playing around with it helps tremendously. It's your best learning curve.
Awesome. All right, guys, have a great one, and we'll see you in the group. Bye.
See you guys.